Hello and welcome to Recap the podcast with me, Lucy Wheeler. Recap stands for Research in Education, Child Development and Parenting. And our mission is to embrace everyone and make everyone feel at home and part of a supportive community. Here on the podcast, you will find stories from parents, child development professionals, researchers, early childhood educators, and many, many more. So pop on those headphones while you walk the dog, grab a snippet during your lunch break or while your baby sleeps, and enjoy listening to some incredible stories from some truly amazing people. Welcome to Recap. Hello, and a huge warm welcome to my guest today, Rachel, who I'm very excited to chat to about all things writing, special educational needs, and parenting. So, before we head into that, I just want to tell you a little more about our guest. Rachel is a qualified post-16 teacher with an MA in creative writing. She lives in the north of England with her husband and two teenage sons. She currently works part-time as a support worker for a charity, working with disabled children and their families. She writes fiction for various publishers and is the chair of her local library group, which runs various events and projects such as the Bottomboat Little Library and a scheme she set up in the pandemic, the Stanley Santa Scheme, which provides free wrapped children's books for the children and families in her community currently struggling due to the cost of living crisis. In her spare time, she likes to read, crochet, sew, and binge watch TV series. And a little fun fact today, she wants to eventually write a screenplay and see it on the screen. How amazing is that? So without further ado, a huge, huge welcome and hello to Rachel. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yes, not too bad, thank you. I'm so excited to talk to you today about all of the things that I've mentioned. You achieve so much. You sound like you've got a million and one things that you're tackling on a daily basis, alongside being a parent as well, which we all know is an absolutely full-time and more job. So it's incredible that you do all the things that you're doing, and some of it for charity as well, which is really amazing. So thank you for giving me some of your time today. I know you're incredibly busy. I'm just going to start off with the main thing of you are an author, which is a huge achievement and something that I'm sure you're incredibly proud of. Can you tell us a little bit about the types of books that you write and kind of what got you into writing?
Okay, so I write romantic fiction. So I write for Mills and Boon, the medical line. So that's about things like doctors and nurses and vets and other medical professionals.
Okay.
Basically falling in love and obviously going through the various emotions that Mills and Boon medicals produce. So I enjoy doing those. I do 2 of those a year. And then I write the longer full novel rom-coms as well for Boldwood, and I used to write for HarperCollins under HQ Digital as well. So I'm just finishing my 21st book.
Oh my word.
Which is weird when I think back and I have to add them up. I have a list, but they do rack up like quite quickly. I never thought I'd be saying that, but I would like to write a lot more. So God willing, I'll be able to do that.
I can imagine writing 2 books a year is quite a hefty thing to be able to do.
4.
Well, sorry,
4 a year.
sorry, 2 books a year for Mills and Boon, isn't it? So four books a year. That's incredible.
4 books a year, yeah, on average, yeah. So yeah, it's a lot, to be honest, and I have found it harder in recent years,
Yeah.
juggling things, but it does keep me sane, and I couldn't just be. I mean, hats off to people who are just stay-at-home mums, but I need something to kind of keep my identity, and so I'll have something to hopefully, still have when my kids are, God willing, out there in the world and more independent. So yeah, so it keeps me sane, and it kind of is my way of like traveling the world without going anywhere.
I love
My
that.
books are like the Mills and Boon medicals. They're translated in like Spain, Poland. I've had a Japanese edition.
Oh wow.
America, Canada. So it's really strange that like I get all these reviews and copies and things from all over the world, and I don't really leave my little village much.
That's brilliant.
So yeah, I'm really incredibly grateful for it.
What got you into writing in the first place? How old were you when you first started?
When I was old enough to pick up a pen, I've always done stories and things. I've never really gotten anywhere. I used to like send readers letters into magazines and get little bits of money, and then I left at home at 15, so I always had to kind of earn money. I didn't have that privilege of being able to stay at home and save money and like go to university and things. So I did everything like backwards, basically.
Yeah.
So I self-published my first book in 2013, and then obviously I had small children, so I was working and raising a family, so it was always kind of a hobby. And then in 2015, I was reading Prima magazine, which I still read to this day, and they were looking for the next Mills and Boon
Okay.
writer. And you had to send in a synopsis of a book and the first chapter. So I already had this idea of these two warring shop workers set in a little Yorkshire village. So I sent that in and I won.
Awesome.
And that was it. Then the book was out in 2016. It was out on the shelves in Asda, and like I used to do my weekly shop and buy my 2 books a week. And then all of a sudden my book was
That
there.
must have
So
been a really strange feeling seeing something that you had written up there on the shelf in the supermarket that you've been frequenting to do your weekly shop for ages.
it is. It was very strange. It was very, very strange. And like seeing writers in the flesh that I've like always read for years through the RNA, that was like
Mm.
surreal. I remember standing in a lunch queue one time, and Jill Mansell was behind me, and I
Wow.
completely fangirled all over her. She must have just thought, "Who is this crazy person?" But I literally read her books like when I was in my early
Yeah.
20s, and kind of thought, "I want to do that." But I just, you never think that you
Mhm.
can do it, and then no, I can. And every book, I'm like, every book contract I get, I still think, really, you want more books? So, but yeah, it is. It's a very surreal life. But I always wanted to do that. I wanted to be a teacher and author from when I was younger. So the fact that I achieved both, I'm just like really happy and grateful. So yeah, I love it.
That's
Absolutely love it.
amazing. That is amazing. And I imagine, talking about you wanting to retain some of your identity, because it's something that I talk to a lot of people about, is how kind of things like parenting and that have changed their identity. So I suppose it's really nice for you to retain that element of it because it's been something that you've wanted to do for so long. So I guess that's been important to you to retain that.
Definitely, yes. I'd never want to write under a pen name. Like Rachel Dove is my real name. It's my married name. I'll never want to write under a pen name because I want to kind of have that, not as like an ego, but I suppose yeah, it is a kind of an ego because being a carer, you're just kind of a faceless person. You're just kind of mum. When you sit in all these meetings, they don't even
Yeah.
call you by your first name. You're just, and what does mum think? And you just think, I'm not. Can you not
Yeah.
just say Rachel? Like I still have an identity, like away from my children, even though you don't
Mm.
feel like it because you feel like everything you do is kind of for them, which every parent feels, whether your children have disabilities or are neurodiverse or not. But it's very important to me to
Mm.
kind of, I don't want to wake up when I'm 50 when my kids are like hopefully working and maybe have even like found their own houses, to think, well, where have I gone? Because it's very important to kind
Yeah.
of keep something for yourself, as hard as it is. Hopefully I will still have those books and I'll have written a lot more by then, so I'll still have me. And that's why I work part-time as a support worker, to be honest. It's difficult to
Yeah.
fit it in. I only do one day a week, but it's kind of my way of giving back and working with other disabled children and their
Mm.
families and showing my expertise and care. But also, it's for me so that I can actually get up one day a week and not be a mum. I'm actually an employee, and I can put my
Yeah.
makeup on, and because the rest of the time I just kind of look like I've been dragged through a hedge and I've got like sweatpants on. And dry shampoo is my best friend, so it is nice to be
Yeah.
human. And I don't think that's selfish. A lot of carers have to give up work and commitments, and it's exhausting and mentally and
Mm.
physically. So I just think having that little job to fit in, they only work Saturdays, the
Okay.
charity, so it's just perfect for me. And I actually have work colleagues now rather than just chatting to people on
Yeah.
Twitter as it was, which has been ruined now
Yeah.
anyway. So yeah,
It's so important, isn't it, to openly speak about how difficult it is to almost lose your identity when you become a parent or a carer, as you say. And I think it's really important to talk about it candidly and actually say that it's okay to feel like you've lost your identity, and it's okay to want to claw some of it back in the ways that you can. And like you say, you do it through your writing and through your support worker role. And it's really important to let people know that it's okay to feel like that, because I know you said before, you can feel guilty for almost saying it, and you're right, it's not a selfish thing, but there is this kind of narrative, isn't there, that parents should be wholeheartedly into their parenting role. And if you have any wants to, parents that want to return to work rather than be stay-at-home mums, that for a long time was almost frowned upon, wasn't it? And it wasn't spoken about that this is okay to actually to be like this. So I think it's really important to talk about it.
I think parenting is hard no matter what type of mum you are. If you're a full-time career mum, or if you're a stay-at-home mum, or you're an SEN mum, it's
Mm,
all hard. And I don't think we should be ripping each other apart because the media and society
yeah,
do that enough. So, if you're working full time, then you're juggling appointments and things. And if you're an SEN mum, then you literally don't. I mean, I find it hard to get time off to go for like a haircut
yeah,
sometimes, or even go see my friends. And sometimes, if I do have a coffee date even planned, then something happens with one of my children, so I have to cancel. Or sometimes I just don't have the social battery
yeah.
myself, so I end up saying I'm just too
Hmm.
tired. So it is very difficult, but I just think that all parenting is
Yeah,
hard. I mean, I'm speaking from a mother's perspective. Obviously, there's a lot of SEN dads as well out there that do a lot of incredible work. I see it in my own
yeah,
charity worker job. There's a lot of committed dads as well. But it's kind of different for them because there is still this semi-traditional view that men are the main breadwinners and women should be the
yeah,
carers, which I don't think we'll ever get rid of. And I think in some ways, whilst we've got the equal rights for women, I do think in some ways it's a lot harder as well because now we're expected to work. If you don't work, then it's like, oh, why don't you work if you're a full-time mum?
yeah.
And I just think that it's all hard and we should just stop it and just support each other and realise that we're all kind of
Yeah.
winging it and doing it
We're
together.
all plodding along day to day without a handbook, aren't we?
Yeah, the hashtag blessed. I always talk about in some of my books. The hashtag blessed. It's a facade. So let's just deal
Mm.
with it. And hashtag kept the kids alive today.
Yep.
That's sometimes that's a win at the end of the day. If your
100%.
kids are happy and
Yeah.
fed and clothed, and there's a lot of kids out there that aren't at the
Mm.
moment. So let's just take that win. If you know your kid is happy, even if they're sat on an iPad all day, let's not
Mhm.
shame it. Let's just
I
get on with
think
it.
it's been great recently over the recent years. It almost has become more open online, hasn't it? There's a lot more people that are sharing the realities of things like parenting and juggling working and parenting and um, having a role as a carer for SEN children, things like that. So I do think that we are taking tiny, tiny baby steps in the right direction in terms of we are seeing it now. But it's not enough currently. It's still very much a battle, isn't it? And it's still very much a lot of people's assumptions of what's going on because not everybody shares the reality. So it's trying to kind of filter through it and see where your tribe is, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, there's a movement called the SEND reform
Yeah.
at the moment, and they've been doing protests all over the country. The irony is there was 2 protests near me, and I couldn't go because my kids needed me, so I couldn't even go, which just shows how much we need these
Yeah.
reforms. But that was just literally a load of TikTok mums that got together and just said enough is
Yeah.
enough. And they are very vocal on TikTok. They're very honest, and they do get bashed. I
Mm,
see it. They get supported, but they do get bashed. So we wouldn't need these reforms if the system worked, but the system is inherently
yeah.
broken. It's underfunded and has been for over a decade. The recent Department of Education campaign, I'd say
Mhm.
loosely, in air quotes, is just an insult. It's a slap in the face for everybody who is trying to. For example, my son is at home today. He has
Yeah.
refused to go to school again. He hasn't been back since Christmas. So now I have school on my back, attendance on my back. What are you doing to get him in? Short of physically putting my hands on him and dressing him in his uniform and dragging him
Yeah.
to the car, that's the only way I'm going to get him in, and I'm
No.
not going to do that. I'm not going to jeopardise his
Yeah.
mental health. My eldest went through autistic burnout last year, and it was the most horrendous December we had. I didn't think I was ever going to get my boy
Oh.
back, but now he's doing EOTAS, which I had to fight the council for. So he's up every day, he's doing his lessons, he goes to the gym, he's gone back to his rugby
Oh,
club.
brilliant.
None of that. I could not get him to open his curtains in his bedroom. He did not want to be on this
Wow.
earth,
What was the
literally.
turning point for him?
Well, something that happened he's asked me
Of
not to
course.
share, which obviously I don't want to, but it was just kind of a conversation and it led to other things. And I just took him out of school. I just basically said not going to school anymore, and it wasn't anything to do with what had happened at school. It was his mental health. He just wasn't coping, and we've discussed it at length, and he doesn't want me to discuss it. So I will
Yeah.
always respect kids. They always know when I'm speaking publicly about this, and we discuss what can and cannot be discussed because he's a teenager. So, but yeah, it was just horrendous. But what it was is I basically did the unschooling method. So that's taken away all demands, which I do believe that he's got PDA. It's impossible to diagnose, but he has got all the traits, and several support workers who have managed to gain access to him through his admission. They basically said that it's PDA. So I just took school off the table. I put the workbooks away because I had to basically, attendants were like threatening to take him to court and things because he wasn't going in, and I just found it not helpful at all. So I just took him out of school. I deregistered him, and I had to do EHE, which is elective home education. But I always call it FHE because it was basically forced home education. I wasn't given an
This
alternative.
is something that comes up a lot, about the kind of terminology around the word elective, because there are many families like yourself.
It's not elective, it's FHE. It's forced home education. So, which is what I'm currently doing now. The GCSE workbooks have come back out because if I can get him to do a little bit in the daytime, but education at the moment is not my priority for my youngest, and it wasn't last year. So, unschooling method is just basically when you take the demands off the table. We did other things such as walking the dog when he would leave the house, baking, things that you could, more life skills. But now he's back to life and he's actually really happy and enjoying it. He's doing his EOTAS, which is education other than at school. So he has a package, he has tutors, it's all online. I have access to it so I can see how he's doing with his assignments, his attendance. I get an email if he doesn't attend class, which he does. He does really well. So I know it can work. But I'm just going through it with my other son now. But it's because the hormones have hit and the dreaded year 10, because it gets onto the GCSE core work. There's a lot more pressure, a lot less leeway, and he just can't cope. So EOTAS is perhaps not beneficial for him because, like myself, he has got ADHD as well as autism. So it's kind of a different ball game. So we are looking into kind of a vocational course in college, but again I'm waiting for Senate to come back to me because I've basically asked them. Obviously it has to go through them, they have to agree it, they have to provide the funding, we have to get there. So as we know, it's just more red tape to go through and paperwork. But in the meantime, my child is kind of stuck because he's not going to school and he's not really doing that much learning, but he did more last week at home than he would have done in a month at school because he just wasn't doing anything. He was just running around school and trying to escape basically. So he does more with me, and I'm a qualified teacher and I still find it really hard to teach him. We have to do it in very short breaks and things because he is
tough,
just
isn't it?
Once they get to burnout, then everything goes out the window. It's basically basically like an adult being depressed about the job. And if you were laid in bed all day and not wanting to go out and not wanting to go to work, then you would leave that job. You would quit. You would go on long-term
you
sick.
can't do that at school though, can you? Well, you can, you can, but it's not
You can, but you
straightforward.
hear from school every day and they request home visits, and I said no home visits. Home is his safe space. It's school that's stressing him out, so school is not coming into home. I'll bring him to reception, you can see him, you can speak to him, you can ask him any questions you want, I've nothing to hide. But no, home is home and school is school, and that is it. So it's difficult at the moment, and I've kind of been through it before and kind of thought, really, we're here again. But this time I'm more clued up and less afraid of the system, I think, because I think you can, especially me being an academic who did really well at school, I didn't even know I had ADHD until I was 40, when the pandemic just completely just stripped away who I was, and I thought I was going mad, but it wasn't. It was just because I had OCD and ADHD, and I'd always been able to cope and overachieve, and I did all the therapy, and like I'm still not any better. And then I kind of thought, I'm a lot like my son, and my OCD got really bad. I was like washing my hands so much that my hands cut and they bled. My husband had to wear gloves in the house because I literally, I was washing open
Was this
sores.
exacerbated with the pandemic?
That was the pandemic. I've always been a bit of a hand washer and sanitizer. Hand sanitizer is just always a staple in my life pre-pandemic anyway, but I just did not cope with the pandemic at all. I was convinced like that was it, the world was ending. I was going to declare the car road at one point because I didn't think we'd use it again. I just completely lost the plot. My husband came home and I was like, how do you declare the car off road? He's like, what are you talking about? Like, we still need the car to go to the supermarket. And I was like, no, we don't. We're at home now forever. I literally was looking for zombies outside the window. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of people couldn't cope with that. Trying to keep it away from my children, but I do think the pandemic have affected a lot of kids as well.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and those that I know they're saying like everybody's changed because of COVID, and they think that their kids don't need an education anymore. I don't think it's that. I think it's the anxiety and the stress, and also kids that were kind of forcing them to go in every day. They've kind of seen a new light, like,
Hmm.
well, there is another thing we could do online learning, and those kids are not wanting to go back in.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as clear cut as the government campaign realise. But yeah,
No.
so now I'm fully diagnosed and I kind of don't beat myself up. And I realise that my overthinking, overachiever mentality is just, it's not just part of me, it's actually a medical
Yes.
condition as well.
Yeah.
So I kind of don't beat myself up
It
about the
gives you
quirky
that
part.
kind of allowance to feel those feelings, I guess, rather than kind of feeling them and thinking, oh, I shouldn't feel like this. Like we were going back to that whole parenting identity. I shouldn't feel like I've lost my identity. I shouldn't be feeling these feelings. So I suppose having that diagnosis kind of gives you permission to feel them because it's a medical condition.
Yeah, it does. And with our children as well, we don't make them do that. Like if my son was like, I'm struggling, I can't do it, or, I'm stuck, I'm kind of, in the paralysis mode that we get. I get that when I'm sat there and I'm so overwhelmed with everything. I
Yeah.
write a list, and there's like 30 odd things on the list by the time I finish. And that's just not helpful.
No.
But if my son was feeling like that, then I wouldn't judge him for it. I'd give him ways to cope. And I think, especially when you're a parent and the main caregiver, you kind of think,
Yeah.
I haven't got time. It's like every mum, you get sick and it's like, I ain't got time to be sick. Well, tough, because your body will tell you to rest.
Yep.
So I kind of, if I don't do 30 things in a day, then it's not the end of the world. And I think it is easier because you can, in these situations, you can kind of disclose to people. Like, I do have ADHD and OCD, so if I'm a little bit pedantic about things, hand sanitising a bit too much, or speaking too much, which I tend to do, then this is why, so bear with me. But you can't always do that because there's a safe space.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, oh, you're the
Yeah.
snowflake mentality, and you don't need those people in your life.
No,
They'll
no,
never get it.
exactly. And I think when you said, touched upon kind of seeing how your children were and made you think about yourself and your own behaviors. And I think that happens to a lot of parents, doesn't it? Parents who go through that diagnosis with their children or their child, it kind of flags up questions in their own mind. I had the same thing. My daughter was very late diagnosed at 16 with ASD and ADHD. And I'd kind of known for quite a few years that I was seeing these behaviors and working in education. I'd done various bits of training around autism and things like that. So I spotted these things. But obviously, we know that the systems for diagnosis is very long and there's a lot of waiting and everything. So she didn't get diagnosed till she was 16. But through that process, I remember sitting in the room with the nurse because she was off in another room doing her assessment with the other nurse practitioner, and I was with another professional in another room. And as I was talking, and she said to me, have you ever thought that you might possess some of these characteristics as well? And I said, well, I do this, this, this. And I started listing things. And she was like, yes, I know. I was saying that because I can see them as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she said they get a lot of parents come in, and after their children have got diagnosis, they then seek their own diagnosis because they can see the kind of connections with the same things like that. And I was laughing when you were talking about kind of writing the list and things like that because I do exactly the
Oh,
same.
yeah, yeah.
Because
Reminders and things,
just to get it
times.
out of your head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And with the OCD part as well, I mean, you can go on antidepressants to manage the OCD, but I've never coped well with antidepressants. They don't agree with
Yeah.
me.
Mhm.
Um, so like I can always tell when I'm stressed because like I'll like clean the entire house
I
out, and then
clean, yeah.
you can always tell. Like I
Yeah.
can't cope. Like I can't have the volume on in the car on an odd number, and I've
Oh,
always been
right.
like that.
Yeah.
So if my husband puts the telly on like 11, I'm like, you need to change it. You need to either lower it to 10
Yeah.
or put it up to 12. And I know
Yeah.
when I'm stressed because every little thing gets on me.
Mm.
It gets to me. So it's definitely, and working from home, trying to homeschool children and trying to keep your house tidy and things, it is not a good mix for
Yeah.
someone with me. Like I will spend all day, and then I'll go to bed, and then I'll write a list of everything I didn't get done that day. So it is. I'm like trying to balance medication at the moment because I've tried medication. It's just not quite right. So I do feel like I need it, but I'm not going to take something that makes me feel worse.
Definitely not, no.
So it's difficult. It's difficult. It is difficult. And also, when you don't really have the time to kind of focus on yourself, you do put yourself to the very bottom of the pile.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's
Yeah, realise I haven't eaten that day. And that's just like my ADHD brain that just cuts out eating because you haven't got time for it. But then I wonder why I'm like ratting and snapping my husband's head off when he walks through the door. So he just kind of feeds me and says, "Go get a drink of water. Go in the bath." So he kind
come and
of
talk to me in
manages
an
me.
hour.
Yeah, he's like my emotional support husband. He
Oh,
kind of knows like, and I'll be like, "No, I'm fine," and then I'll have something to eat, and then I'll think,
and now I'm
"Oh right,
fine.
yeah, you're right, you've got a point." Yeah, I'm like a dragon breathing fire some days when he comes home. It's like, "What's wrong? What's the matter?" And women always say,
Yep,
"Nothing,"
yep.
don't
We're
we?
fine.
So he's like, "Not nothing."
Yeah.
Yeah, because you just kind of push it down. And when you have to deal with meetings and appointments and you've got kids at home that are teenagers, like the average mum, their kids are out at school like all day. They might go out with friends after. They probably get themselves up and get on the bus. Like, I don't have any of that. Everything has to be
Yeah.
managed. And if I don't get up, then basically, if I stayed in bed all day,
Yeah.
then nothing would get done, it's just not luxury. So it's very, yeah, it is. I keep saying it's very difficult, but it is. But then you see these, like my eldest, who's doing so well now, and he's just out living his life and said he's happy in life, then I think, well, that was worth it all.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
know what I'm going to do with my youngest. Like this time next year, we'll be through it. So I'm just kind of hanging on to that. And then you always hope that there'll be like more time for a life. But if I don't look after myself in the meantime, then I probably won't be here to enjoy it. So I think everything, like the day at a
Yeah.
time mentality, is very hard when you're worrying about every little
Yes.
thing that comes up. But I do think it works. Yeah. So I have like a thing now where I write 3 things down at the top of the list that must get done.
Yep.
If I can cut them down to 3, that's my dog snoring in the background. And then if I get those 3 major things done, then that's okay. And if one of those things was just make sure the kids are fed and happy and
It's
no work
important.
gets done,
Yeah.
then that's what
Yeah.
happens.
It's important to acknowledge those. I don't want to say small wins because they're not small in the grand scheme of things, but those kind of basic survival skills and achievements, sometimes they're the most important things to get done that day.
Yeah, and I think comparison is like your enemy as well when you're an SEN mum.
Yeah.
Like you can compare, like obviously my son basically lost a year, his eldest, so my eldest, so he's basically not repeating year 10 because he didn't do year 10.
Right.
So I always say that he had like a mental health year.
Okay.
So he's now doing year 10 when realistically he would have been in year 11.
Right.
It's like a lot of his friends and his peers, they will be leaving in July. So on your Facebook, then you get, oh, he's going to college and she's doing really well and she scored well on her mocks. And I just think that is not good to compare.
Yeah.
You can't kind of, and I have done it before, when you see all the matching pajamas at Christmas and things, and you're just having a low key, quiet Christmas to like kind of cope with the, the disruptions and the overload. So I do think comparison is like the enemy of the SEN mum. They're not on the same journey as you. They're not on the same train, basically. That's it. And I know like the Holland poem. I know a lot of parents. I hate the Holland poem, to be honest. Like
I
we're
don't think
going
I've
to
heard
Holland.
this.
It's basically a poem about not comparing. So it's basically like we're not going here. We're going to Holland. So our journey's different. So we can't compare. If you do look it up, and when I first read it, I just hated it, everything. And I think that's just like your parent, like your default parenting goals kicking in. But basically, it's like we're not comparing because we're on a different journey. So, your kid might get an A star on his GCSEs, but my son might get himself a part-time job, and that is like such a big win. Or my son might talk when he was non-verbal till 7.
Yeah.
My son, my children have never been non-verbal. They've had selective mutism, but some children,
Okay.
they don't have the toileting down and things like that. Mine's been more sensory issues and anxiety and patterns based. So there's some children out there that are, not, they're still in nappies far beyond their age, and like you see them on the Facebook groups, like my son had a poo in the potty today, in the toilet today. I know I shouldn't be pleased because he's 7, but I am. And you see all the other
Of
mums
course.
like, no, that's truly amazing, like celebrate it. And I do think
Yeah.
you are on a different journey. Like we are all going to Holland, whether we like Holland or not. Like it is difficult, but I do think comparing just does not do you any good. It's like you're on a different, and obviously you wouldn't want your children to compare themselves to anybody else, which is what I
Yeah.
always say to them. I've always been honest, even when they were young and we were going through the autism assessment. I never took them there and didn't tell them why they were there. I
Yeah.
never coached them into anything. It was just you just say
Be
tell the
you.
truth. Just do your best. That's all I ask. I just want you to be happy. That's the goal in life. I just want you to be happy and safe. That's it. I don't care
Yep.
how many GCSEs you've got. I don't care, like, if you earn 100 grand a year or 10 grand a year. I'm not bothered as long as you're happy and safe and you're able to navigate the world. Because one day I will not be around to
Yeah.
hold their hand anymore. I'll hold it as long as I can, but I want them to be competent adults. So my kids can cook a meal from scratch. They know how to use the washing machine. Other teenagers I know that are neurotypical don't,
Yeah.
because I speak to their mums. My son can change his own bed
It's just
sheets.
life skills.
So, yeah, sometimes you have to focus on the life skills, and are they able to get on a bus? Are they able to manage money? So I've always done like the money management thing. The pocket money goes into their bank account. They've got a bank card. They've got the bank app. They've had that since
Yeah.
they were 11, and you could do it because that is the stuff of life that they're going to need to do. Algebra is probably not going to be needed in their life, so I'm not going to beat them up for, not obviously physically or mentally, but I'm not going to say, well, you don't know your algebra or your times tables, because at the end of the day, it's not important. If they can balance their checkbook, so to speak, cook
Yeah.
a meal and pay the bills, and are able to go out in society for whatever they want to do, then that's
Yeah,
the goal.
this was something that was really important to me as well, because I deregistered my daughter when she was 14 at school, so she left in year 9, so did year 9, 10 and 11 out of school. So we did the first kind of 18 months as full home education, but that
Yeah.
didn't work completely for us because of
No.
her ADHD. She couldn't climbing the walls, being inside all that time, she couldn't deal with it, but the school system didn't work for her either. And we found our
Yeah.
nice balance with being we accessed our 14 to 16 provision at our local college. I say
That's what
local,
I'm trying to do at the moment.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how local yours is. Ours was over an
It's
hour
quite local, to
away.
be honest. It's about 10-15
Oh,
minutes
really?
away, which is good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think we had colleges closer to us that offered it, but only if your child was diagnosed with a SEN disability. But at that point, she wasn't. She was only diagnosed when she finished school at 16. So we didn't have a diagnosis, so we couldn't access the ones closest to us. So we had to go over an hour to the closest one that would offer it for her as a home educated student. So she did 14-16 provision for her academic studies to pass her GCSEs. So she had to be there for 16 hours a week. And then the rest of the time she was at home, and we focused on employability and life skills, because those were the things that I felt were missing from the school system that
Definitely.
she
Yeah.
wasn't learning in her GCSE content either. So I kind of focused on that. And like you say, things like money management, I mean, it's known individuals with ADHD, money management is a big thing to be able to learn and grasp on that. So things like money management and being able to run a home and, like you say, put a load of washing on, cook a meal, and understand how life works and prepare her for going out into society. So that was something that was really important to me as well, and that's kind of fueled some of my decision to remove her from the school system. But we didn't follow we continued to follow a slightly alternative route, in the sense that she didn't then go on to college, because again, that environment would have been similar to going to school, sitting in a classroom, learning in that way didn't work for her. So she's doing an apprenticeship now in a pharmacy because she wants to be a paramedic. So we were thinking, in the medical industry, how could she kind of get these 2 years, because she can't join the ambulance service till she's 18. So we kind of had this gap between 16 and 18 where she's desperate to go into the career she wants to do, but she's not old enough. So we went down the route of an apprenticeship, and it's the best thing that we've done,
Yeah.
because she's out in the real world, she's getting that real life experience, she's still learning, she has to do a certain amount of learning a week, but she's kind of almost living an adult's life, a working life, which she's always been mentally. She's always been a million years older than she actually is. She's very
Oh
grown
yeah.
up in her mind.
Yeah.
So being in this,
My eldest is like,
yeah, so going and sitting in
yeah.
college with a lot of younger minded individuals as well, and kind of doing that standard learning, I knew it wouldn't work for her.
Mm.
But it's knowing what your options are, and that's why it's so important to talk about it. And I know you said that you were a teacher, so I mean you had some of this knowledge of the education system, things like that. Not everybody has that, and that's why it's important to have support groups and things like this where people are talking about it, because if you don't know, then you feel like you've got no other option, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've taught both children and adults and college students and been support workers in various roles. So I've kind of seen, I've been an
Okay.
SENTA, I've taught adults. I used to teach adults I used to teach basically the
Right.
future teacher assistants who did courses so they could go work in schools. So I've kind of seen all angles of it and realised that none of it really works. There's a lot of people that really want to help, but then there's a lot of staff that some of them are like intentionally ignorant, which is a small minority, but they are very harmful. And then there's others that are just trying the best, and there's just no money, no training, no time.
Yeah.
They're stressed. Everything's stretched. But
Yeah.
I can really see what you mean, because like my eldest, when I first took him to school, mainstream primary, he came home and he was fuming the first day, and I was like, "What's the matter?" And I was like, "What's wrong?" And he was like, "Why have you sent me to school with these babies?" And I was like,
Oh.
"What?" And he was like, "Why have you sent me to school with these babies?" And he was like,
Oh
"One of
no.
them, one
Yeah.
of them couldn't even spell this word today. I just don't understand them. I just don't get it." And he was just so far in advance of them, and he was
Yeah.
like reading. Like he never did the Biff, Chip, and Kipper scheme. He never did that reading scheme. He never
Wow.
did it. They gave him a book, and he was like, "This is for absolute babies. I'm not doing it." So in the end, I had to kind of intervene, and because he was reading so far ahead, he knew he could recite the whole Gruffalo book, but when he was 3, it was like a party trick. He knew it off by heart, and he's always been a reader. Like he reads Stephen King and Game of Thrones
Yeah.
and stuff now, and he's into manga. And but then my other son, he was just like, you'd teach him all day about a colour, and then the next day it'd just like it'd
Yeah.
fallen out of his head. And he's not unintelligent by any means. Like he's he's quick at maths. He can do it in his
Yeah.
head like boom. But it's the attention. It's like he cannot sit in a classroom for 50 minutes and listen to a teacher and do
Mhm.
the work. He just can't. 10
Yeah.
minutes and then he's done. So he's never going to be academically
Mhm.
minded. Never. He's never going to be interested like that. Like my eldest wants to do an apprenticeship in to be an electrician like his dad, which he'll do well because it's
Yeah.
all technical and things, and he'll like that, like the structure. My youngest wants to do animal care because he
Oh.
loves animals, and that'll suit him down to the ground because it's
Yeah.
physical and
Mhm.
it's helping people, and he loves to do that. He's a very helpful child. He'll do anything for anyone. Like he bonds with like little children, like his cousins and stuff. He always goes, and they absolutely adore him, and he loves animals and things. So he'll do really well. Like if he gets a job at like a dog shelter or something, then we'll end up with a
Yeah.
lot of dogs at home. But that'll suit him down to the ground. He's just not academically minded because, quite frankly, it bores
Yeah.
him. And he still says to me that books are boring, which is a massive insult since it's
Is it?
helped to
I was
raise him
gonna
all
say
these
that's your
years.
job.
And it's like a slap in the face. Yeah, like I'm an English major, got a master's in creative writing, and my
Hate.
son
Oh.
hates books. My eldest actually wrote a picture book that we got published when he was 11. He wrote a picture book called Artistic Alfie,
Oh.
and I still get schools. One autistic provision down south somewhere actually contacted me to ask him if he wanted to do a Zoom meeting with
Oh
the
wow.
students because they were so inspired by the book that they're going to write their own about their own
Love that.
experiences. And I was just like, "This is amazing. What do you think, Jay?" And he was like, "No, hell no, I'm not doing a Zoom." Like, because he doesn't like the
Right.
FaceTimes. And I knew what
Yeah.
he'd say, and he's embarrassed by it now. He's like, "I don't want to talk about it. I can't
Oh
believe you wrote a picture book."
no.
But yeah, because he just
Yes.
sees it as childish. But I keep saying to him, lots of people out there, like grown
Yep.
adults, that write children's
Yep.
books. It's, but But that book had such an impact, and they had parents contacting me through his pages and saying like, my son loves it, and he's gone as autistic Alfie for book
Oh,
day, and you just think,
wow.
wow, it's
That
like
is
amazing.
incredible.
Like it is, it's really good. I mean, Nathan even went. My youngest, he even went as autistic Alfie for his last
Gee.
book day at school, and I was just so proud that he just picked it
Yeah.
himself. Yeah. But yeah, they are very, very
Yeah.
different. They are very different kids. Like, they're both like me, but in
Yeah.
very different
Yeah,
ways.
that's
Uh,
funny you say that because obviously I've written a couple of books and had a few books published, and my daughter is
yes, I love them. I read them.
thank you. Um, but my daughter is completely the same. She's like wouldn't pick up a book, absolutely hates reading. Like she's read like 2 books in her life and that's it. And that was because I was like, please read these. These are really good. They were a couple of well, I gave her some young adult books when she was about 10 because she needed that
Yeah,
higher level in a book, and a kind of a more complicated plot line, something that she could identify with a
yeah,
bit more, and kind of her age range reading she just wasn't interested in. So I gave her a couple of young adult books, one Holly Bourne book and one Cecilia Ahern book, 2 books that I absolutely love, and she did really really enjoy it. But she's like, I'm done now. I don't need to read again. Like she's just not got any interest in
yeah,
reading. And when I had mine published, she's got the very first printed one of each book, and I've written a little message in there and signed it and everything so that she's got the very first ever printed book of each one. And she's like, oh thanks, and like she puts it in her drawer and she's proud that she's got them, but she's like, I'm never going to read these, right? So, it's fine.
yeah,
But it hurts, doesn't it? It's like when you're an author and your kids are like, nah, don't read.
yeah. It does hurt. Yeah, my husband's not a reader either. Like not a reader at all. He'll read sports biographies, but like only very
Yeah.
limited ones. He read the Michael McIntyre biography like a few years ago, and I'll keep saying, "Oh, do you like this book?" And I try and look for him, and he's like, "Nah." So he's just not interested. So I don't know where like I fit into this house, but my other son's got books. The only time that my youngest thought was relatively cool is when I got the Japanese edition of
Oh,
one of the
okay.
books, and he was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's like manga," and that was it. But it was like 2 seconds of wonder. Then he was like, "Yeah, I don't care."
Over it now.
So if I show him like, look, I've got French editions, he's like, why do you got that for? You don't speak French, and I'm like, it's not the point. Like it's like for sale. Like French people are reading my words, and he's like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not bothered. What's for tea? I just couldn't give a
Some people
stuff
just can't
at
win
all.
over.
It tells people his mum's a writer, but yeah, that's it. But no, he's not bothered. He just says the boring. What are you reading for? It's boring. And I'm like, just go
What
away.
about audiobooks? Are they interested in audiobooks?
I've tried everything. I
Yeah.
really have. I mean, I listen to audiobooks as like a modelling as well. Like if I've got something to do, like anything really, dishwasher and things, I'll put an
Yeah.
audiobook on because I feel like it's dead time sometimes
Yeah.
when you're just doing housework things. I just feel like it's dead time. I could be doing something better with my time than
Yeah, definitely.
cleaning the
I've
oven.
just recently
But if
started
I'm,
getting more into audiobooks, and it's like walking the dog,
yeah,
driving in the car.
yeah, walking the dog is great. Yeah, like with the
Mm,
headphones on. Yeah, definitely in the car. I do that a lot. But then there was an incident when I got to a spicy bit and I'd pulled up to Starbucks drive-through and I tried to. Oh, it's so embarrassing. And I go there all the time because caffeine is my
yeah.
friend. ADHD, SEN, I can't live without coffee. It's literally in my veins. So I'd pulled up and my regular barista was there and I just pressed stop and it didn't
Oh
work.
no.
And it was like
Oh
thrusting
no.
and things were happening. And I was like trying to turn the volume down and it just would not work. And she just laughed and she was like, "Oh yeah, and I listen to those kinds of books
Oh.
too." And I was so embarrassed. So I didn't go there for a few days after that. So that's kind of
Do you know,
embarrassing.
I find it really embarrassing because I listened to which book was it? It was Dawn Porter. I love her books, but she doesn't mince her
Oh yeah,
words.
just quite sweary as well.
Sweary,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and quite raunchy in places. And I think it was Cows that I was listening to on audiobook.
Oh yeah, I've
Oh,
read
but
that.
it's
Yeah.
quite like she talks about some quite
Yes, it
racy
is.
things. And I remember
Yeah.
having it on my headphones gardening as I was gardening, and I kept like looking over my shoulder, like, Is my headphones too loud? My neighbour's going to be able to hear what I'm listening to?" And I was like really embarrassed and had it down at the smallest volume on my headphones where I could barely hear it, just so that I didn't get embarrassed.
It is bad though, isn't it? It's bad, but we shouldn't feel guilty. I always say like guilty pleasures in
I
books
know.
shouldn't they shouldn't have guilty pleasures. Like whatever you want to read, if you want to read you know, the fairy porn books, go for it. I love them myself. You know, if you
Yeah.
want to,
Yeah.
I like listen to murder podcasts and things. You know, and people make memes and TikToks on them because it's a real thing. You know, if you want a bit of spice in your books, or you want to read a
Yeah.
sports biography, it's all reading. And like people who say
Hmm.
audiobooks is not real reading, I just think, how is it not real reading? It's a book.
Yeah,
You've
you've still
still
got the
read it. And
comprehension there, haven't you? Comprehension element of understanding the story and the plot line and the characters and everything.
I think when you can't do, when you, I mean, my reading habits have totally, like, I could read a book, a B.A. Paris book, I remember. I didn't even go to the toilet and I read it straight in 4 hours because I just couldn't put it down. I didn't
Wow.
move. I didn't do anything. I just had a cup of coffee and that was it. And I read the whole thing from cover to cover in 4 hours. The kids was at school, so I was like, right, that's it. I'm going to read some of this book, and I read the whole thing before I went to pick the kids up.
Wow.
But now I'm lucky if I get like half an hour in bed before like my husband's like, do you want to watch a film or the
Mm.
kids come up or and you just feel guilty if I'm sitting and reading when actually it's kind of part of
Yep.
my job as well. It
Research.
feeds your brain. Yeah, exactly. So
Hmm.
I do think audiobooks is a way of kind of fitting that into your life, and I do use them a lot now. A couple of hours a day, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like after this, I'll probably go and do the dishwasher, and that'll be another couple of
Hmm.
chapters. But it's engaging your brain as well, I think. And I think when you're stuck, especially like when you know when you're quite isolated as well, because I don't see a lot
Yeah.
of people. Um, it's a way of kind of having that interaction, so your brain doesn't turn to mush. You know, the dishwasher still gets done; it doesn't make
Hmm.
any difference. But I've kind of enjoyed it more and
Hmm.
forgotten what I'm doing.
They say, don't
So
they, that your brain's a muscle. You need to keep using it and keep it active to look after it.
exactly. So I do think, you know, you can't give up everything because, you know, otherwise you're just going to be sat watching Love Island, which there's nothing against Love Island. But, you know, if you just sat in front of the telly all day, I don't think that's very helpful. And I've done it before when I've just thought I'm not
Mm.
doing anything. And then at the end of the day, I've not felt great because I've not really done
Yeah.
anything. But if I can go on a dog walk for half an hour and read three
Yeah.
chapters of a book at the same time, then I feel a bit
Yeah.
virtuous. You know, I feel like I've fed my brain and my soul a little bit more. So I think you do have to do these
Yeah.
things. I'm notorious for not
Mm.
going out of the house because I just think I've got too much to do here. You turn around and you think, I've not left the house for a week. Like, what's going on? Other than maybe walking the dog or walking up to the little library to check the books are there. And I think I really do need to. And then when you
Wow.
think
Yeah.
about going to the supermarket, something it's daunting and you think this is not good. But it is easy to get like that when you've got things and people at home. You feel like, even as teenagers, I feel like sometimes I can't leave them during the school day to
Mm.
go get a coffee because I should be there educating them.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to kind of get that balance. But I do think if you don't look after yourself, then it's that saying, isn't it, about
Mm.
being on an airplane and putting your mask on first before you
Yeah.
help anybody. Like, I always think back to that, like I'm not putting my mask on, so I'll be dead before I can help anybody,
Yeah,
sort of
it's
thing.
easy
So
to tell other people to do it, isn't it, than to actually do it ourselves. And that was something that I really fell down on over the last few years, was
yeah.
working so much and working myself into the ground. And because I'd been through a divorce and I was very aware that I was now the sole earner of the house, and I got myself into such a hole where I was like, well, I'm just going to have to work 24/7, and I wasn't sleeping. And I actually had some CBT to help me kind of make sense in my mind that the world's not going to fall apart if I go to sleep at nighttime rather than working. I wasn't getting paid for any of these
Oh
extra
yeah.
hours, but I
Mm.
felt in myself that I was doing the right thing. I was being a good parent by providing and, working above and beyond. And I was exhausted and I was emotional, and I was that it, you kind of lay in bed at night and catastrophize in your mind of all these things that, oh, it was awful. And I had to kind of have a stern word for myself and say, look, you need to sort this out. And I'm so much better now at managing things. I actually do more now than I did before, but because of how I manage it, I feel like I'm doing better in terms of, my mental health is much better now because I am prioritizing things like sleeping, eating, and allowing myself to do those things that felt like a waste of time before because they were just interfering with me being able to make sure that I was being the best mum that I could. So I think you're right. I think it's really important to acknowledge that, but it's really easy to fall into that trap.
Oh yeah, yeah. I still do it now from time to time, and then I'll think, oh, I haven't left the house in like 3 days. I need to go out, even if it's just to the
Yeah.
supermarket or something. I need to go out, even if it's just Starbucks drive-through. You know,
Mm.
I need to do it. I mean, the Saturday job is like a godsend because that means I'm out all day and like interacting, and that's kind of the reason why I took it on.
Yeah.
But like when you work from home as well, and my job's not where you normally speak to people. You know yourself as a writer, you can sit in your sweatpants and you can just put some deodorant on your pits for 2 days and chuck a bit of dry shampoo on, and that's
Yeah.
it. You might have a murder. I tend to write with a distraction, so something that I've already watched, like that I don't
Okay.
need to engage with, like they need the
Yeah.
background noise, or I'll put headphones on, and I can be there for 5-6 hours if I got time, if I was left, writing away. And then you look up from your laptop and you're all hunched up, and you think,
Yeah.
oh, I need to. It's very easy to forget to kind of lift your head up and speak to people, especially when you're on deadline, because it's just a caffeine fueled haze of getting the words down, and you go to sleep and you're thinking about it, and you're in the shower, and then a scene comes to you, so you're like jumping out of the shower to do a voice note, and it's just it's like addictive, and it's obsessive
Yeah.
sometimes. And like if you had a job working from home, where I know people moan about like the Zoom meetings and things, but you are actually seeing human faces
Interacting,
and
yeah.
interacting. Yeah, and sometimes I forget how to talk, and then my husband comes home and he just gets a torrent of
Yes. Yeah.
and not all of it interesting. It might be that I've seen something, or like, I don't know, the neighbours put the bin away and it was really nice that they'd put the bin away for another neighbour. All like banal stuff. Or I'll talk to him about stuff that he's
But
not interested
you
in.
need that kind of outlet of actually communicating when you haven't done all day.
Yeah, especially when a lot of the times when you speak to people, it's about your child. So it's just like
Yes.
like negative things like, can you get me to school today? No, I'm going to ring this service. I'm going to ring this service, and then you just
Yeah.
mum, and you just like your identity is just chopped away at the door. You're just
Mm.
parent. So I do think, and like writers are a
Yes, yeah.
solitary bunch anyway. You can tell get together at like conferences and things that we're all like, hello. I've not seen anybody for 6 months. And when your kids are older as well, you have that school mum thing where you all go together to soft play and things like that. And then they all kind of go back to work when they go to high
Yeah.
school, and their kids get themselves to school, and then you're
Yeah.
kind of left there. Like I'm still doing the school run, or I was. They've all gone back to work and maybe achieved things in their careers, and you're just still sat at home thinking, what happened to CBeebies? Like, why, when it was acceptable to just sit and eat biscuits
Yeah.
on a morning, and do you know what I mean? You just kind of feel like you've got left behind in some ways, but it's just you're going to Holland. It's a
Exactly,
different
and I
journey.
love that you brought it back to that because that's exactly how you have to look at it, isn't it? And what's that saying? Comparison is the thief of no, yeah, the thief of joy, isn't it? Comparison is the thief of joy, I think is the saying.
So, yeah, so I was trying to think of that earlier. Yeah, comparison is it's the devil
Yeah,
basically. Don't
it's
compare yourself. Like it's like comparing yourself to the models on Instagram. Like not even the models on
no,
Instagram look like the models on Instagram. So stop beating yourself up if you've
yeah,
got a muffin top, because
no,
they don't even look like that.
yeah,
It's all
no,
smoke and
it's
mirrors.
tough. I mean, we can't talk about the fact that you're a writer without talking about the latest book that you're working on, which I believe is a non-fiction title that you're going to be releasing hopefully very, very soon because I cannot wait to read it. Can you tell us a little bit about that book?
Okay, so it's coming out from a publisher based in London, and it's called Spellbound Books. And the one of the founders of that is actually an SEN mum herself, Samara, and she is an absolute powerhouse of holding people accountable and posting what she thinks about the system on social media. So we've always been kind of like-minded. So when I had this idea for a non-fiction book, basically it's kind of part memoir, part self-help guide, because obviously I've got the qualifications and the experience in the system, but then I've also got the personal experience of being a parent. So it's kind of part memoir, obviously not divulging everything, just what the kids can want to divulge and are happy with, and also like a kind of a self-help guide. So there's a couple of things that made a couple of reasons why it's taken so long. I've always said I'd like to write a book on it, and people always say to me, you should write a book on it. You should help other people, because I've helped a lot of mums over the years, like, say to them, like, I know school was saying that your kid's this and XYZ and he's not. Like, I do think you need to like go for assessment, and then they've gone for assessment and they've found that their child is neurodiverse, and I'm kind of like, I could tell. So I've like I always help other mums when I can. People always contact me for advice, which I'm grateful for, because it means that they must think I know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. But in my books before, in my fiction books, I've written a couple of autistic adjacent characters before, because obviously there's the own voices as well, which I was very mindful of, because I always thought I was neurotypical. So I thought, really, who wants a self-help guide from someone who is neurotypical?
Right.
It's a little bit of an insult, to them, where there's other neurodivergent parents out there that possibly would have a different take to myself. So I have written characters but I've written one for Mills and Boon where the hero is the father of an autistic child, and then I wrote another one based on the perspective from a mother of an autistic child, because I felt like I could write about that because it's a lived experience. So the two things that kind of changed my mind and thought this is the time to write it, well, three things actually. One, I was sick of the system. I'm sick of shouting into the void. I'm sick of doing sometimes angry TikToks about how annoyed I am. And I kind of wanted to say my piece and put it out there and kind of clap back at the system myself and kind of help other parents as well. And then the second thing was, in the Facebook groups and things, you hear about things, and there was actually a mother who committed suicide because she was so stressed with trying to get help for her severely disabled child that she couldn't cope. And that to me was a game changer, because I just thought, what changed it for me was the comments in the news article. So I knew I shouldn't have looked at it, but I thought I'm going to look. So the comments on the online news article were absolutely disgusting. Yeah, just derailing the mother, like she's selfish, why did she do this? And I just thought, this is why we need to speak out more and tell how it is, because she's not selfish. She was broken by the system. She was failed, and her child was failed. And she was at a point, which I have been at myself, where she thought, I cannot do this anymore. And she said, Uncle. And I don't think that there's anything cowardly about that. I think that she was an incredibly strong woman that was just broken beyond belief. And that I always think about that. And the third thing was my own diagnosis and experience, because I kind of thought, well, this is my story now. So it's I can take up the reins and do this. So it is part self-help guide. So there's obviously facts in there, statistics, ways of offering help, resource, like links to different things, because no one tells you that you can apply for benefits, or that you can do this, that and other, or no one tells you what EOTAS is or EHCP. They just speak all these legalese at you and expect you to back down and walk away. I had to learn all that. So it's part that, and obviously part memoir, kind of saying you're not on your own. Like, if I can help one person not do that and not be completely so broken that they have to escape it, then that's it, basically. So there was a lot of reasons. It doesn't have a title yet because I'm trying not to be offensive. I did want to call it The System is Broken, so I don't know if it will be called that or something else, but it's the hardest thing I've ever written in my life, like hardest ever.
Is that because it's so close to home?
Yeah, it's so personal, and I'm very aware of offending people and getting it right. And obviously with my ADHD, I've also got RSD, so I'm like scared of the reviews and
rejection sensitivity.
Yeah, definitely. So I just think if I'm not going to read the reviews, basically. I'm just going to be honest and do it to the best of my ability. And if that book is not for you, then it's not for you, basically. But I'll say that, but then I'll probably crawl into a hole when it's released for about a fortnight and not be on social media. I'm not trying to take the system down. I'm not trying to, it's not down to teachers. It's not down to, everybody's got a responsibility in the system. So it's not about just saying this is rubbish, but there is so much that we could do better. And there's so much that parents could be told. So if someone reads it and maybe has a laugh or thinks, yeah, this is me, I'm not on my own, then, the more's the better, basically. So so it will be out this year from Spellbound. But I don't have any specific details and things, but I will be posting on my social media pages.
Brilliant. Yeah, definitely let us know when we've got more details, and then we can share it. And I can't wait to have a read of it. It's on my to read list, and I'm really happy that you've said it's coming out this year, so I know that I've got it to look forward to this year, which is good.
Yeah, it's definitely out this year, definitely. You can hold me to that. It will be out sometime in the summer, I would have thought, maybe towards autumn time, but it won't be much later than that.
Brilliant.
It depends on how much time I get to do it. It's just basically pulling it together. There's a lot written on it, and I just there's so much to write in it. I just don't want it to be this big, fat, weighty tome. It needs to be quite focused, but there is so much to say and so much to kind of tell. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll see how I recover from the first one first.
One book at a time. Look at me adding to your to-do list.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
Brilliant.
definitely.
Okay, well, just to bring it to a close, because Recap's all about embracing everyone and making everyone feel at home and part of a supportive community, I ask all guests to have a think of one piece of advice or an empowering message to give to the listeners to help share that love and support. So if you could just say one thing to help even just one person, what would it be that you would say?
I would say, well, I can't give one because I would say two things. Sorry to be
You can
contrary.
have
I would
two.
say
That's fine.
one. I'd say one, you're not alone. Like, you're
Yeah.
not alone. There's millions of people out there. There's hundreds of families out there that are struggling. And stick
I
to your
like that.
guns. You know your child better than anybody else. Any educator, any doctor, you know them better. So stick to your guns and basically just fight for your child. Like, fight like tooth and nail for them, because that is the only way. Be the one in the meeting that says, well, can you,
Yeah.
can you cite me the law on that? Can you cite the case law? Why is that this? Why is this? What is the funding amount?
Mm.
Because the system is basically fueled by gaslighting a lot of the time. And if you don't know what you're on about, then they will
Mhm.
exploit that. So stick to your guns and
I love
remember that
that.
you're
That's
not
lovely.
alone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. How can people find you online to follow your books and your journey with your children as well?
So I'm on Facebook as Rachel Dove Author, and then my normal hashtag is my handle is at Writer Dove, and that's like on Insta and X as it was Twitter,
Hmm.
things like that. I tend to share less about my family's journey as they
Yeah,
get older because I feel like it's more their story and I'm less of a voice for them now
of
because they've
course.
got their
Yeah.
own voice. But you'll see the occasional government rant when, like, the recent Department of Education campaign that just absolutely riled
Hmm.
me so much. So you might see the occasional rant, but I always say that my DMs are open for anybody who's wanting any advice, because if I can possibly help or signpost them to something, then I will, because we're not alone. Like, we need to
Hmm.
help each other, because that way
Yeah.
the kids win. We want this for the kids. This is the next generation. And if we don't get it right, then diagnosis is improving more and more. More children are struggling with society, and the education system just needs a huge overhaul.
Hmm.
We need to know that not everybody's an academic. It needs to be changed, and for that we need
Hmm.
to enact real change and
That's
real
it. And the
reform.
only way we can do that is to keep talking about it and keep shouting. Hey,
Yeah, keep fighting and stay true to yourself.
brilliant.
Basically, don't let the gaslighters win.
And on that note, brilliant. Thank you so much, Rachel. It was awesome speaking to you today, and I
Thank you for
can't wait
having
to
me.
follow your journey and read the book when it comes out. So thank you so much for joining us today. See you
Thank you.
later.
Goodbye.